Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm also a shamanic Reiki master teacher located in the Charleston, South Carolina area. My business is Stargazing Angel. I offer Reiki training and Reiki classes and intuitive readings. So check that out on my website on tinakinneyclark.com. And today's guest is Alain Salas. He's a chiropractor and a mind clearing doctor. Today, we're going to get into it and we're going to talk about limiting beliefs and how it holds us back, and also how to rewrite your health story. So, welcome to the show, Alain.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. Exactly. Let's rewrite everything, right?
Yes, please. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, and how did you come to helping others with their limiting beliefs and rewriting their health story.
Yeah, well, it started, I used to live in, obviously, you can hear a little bit of an accent, right? So I was born and raised in France, and I used to live actually on my sailing boat in south of France. And I was, having a boat rental business, right? So kind of minding my own business. I had long hair. They used to call me the gypsy. I had the hearing, partying every day or every night. And, for me, everything was about adventure, right? I thought like freedom was outside, right? So that's what I was seeking. So when I was done basically working, I was sailing. And after, when the weather got too bad in the Mediterranean Sea, I used to basically go to buy an airfare ticket and travel. I was kind of a sun chaser, right? That was my goal. And one day, Tina, I had a calling. I literally saw myself helping people, right? And so you have to understand that nobody's on the healing heart in my family, right? There's no MD, there's no nurses, no massage therapists, nothing, right? And so I said, what the heck, And so I started to inquire about, some information. I talked to some of my clients, and one guy told me, you know what, Alain, I've got a Chinese doctor. He's coming to town to visit me. Would you like to talk to him? I said, heck yes, I want to talk to him. And his name is Philip, right? And so, okay, so I talked to the guy, right? He said, basically gave me 3 books to read, right? And I say, when you're done with the season, you come to see me, I'll give you a treatment, no charge, of course. And basically, we'll talk. So I read the book, and it was pretty interesting. They were like deep philosophical book. Like one was the Tao taking. I mean, that's pretty deep stuff. And the other one was called the Hara, Hara, which is basically a Japanese. When Japanese people traditionally kill themselves, they will point to the center of gravity, which is the Hara, which basically you can translate in English as the gut, right? And they will stab themselves and commit suicide, right? And so, but there's a posture that comes with it, right? And so I read this fantastic book. Another one was The Man Between the Earth and the Sky, which is mainly about acupuncture. So I read this book, done with the season, went to see Philip, and I started inquiring about Chinese medicine, right? He told me, oh, you know what? You need to, if you want to know what you're doing, like I did, you need to go to China, learn Chinese, study old texts and spend 10 years. I all done, Philip. I'm 30 years old. I want to practice one day, right? I've had urge to help people, and you tell me I have to wait 10 years. So he said, you look at me and say, you look strong. Why not chiropractic? And I reply, what's that? I had no idea. And so he gave me some information, some contact with some French people. We went to America, right, or to learn chiropractic. And when I got the information, what was fascinating to me, and still to this day, it's what they call the innate intelligence, your own ability to heal yourself. And this was fascinating to me, right? And so I sold my boat business, told my parents, oh, by the way, I'm going to America to become a doctor. And so that was a good laugh. And got treated in America by a French lady, actually, from my own town. I mean, this is crazy. And got my first treatment and love it. And so I went for it. So just to make a long story short, I became a chiropractor, right? And I met my wife, and she's she was from France, right? And so we met in a bar, and we've got a daughter. Her name is Maya, right? And so that's basically how I came from France to America, right? And I don't know if you want to know more.
Well, okay. So are you still practicing chiropractic anymore or?
Actually, I created my own healing energy technique, and yes, that's a very good question actually, because when I started to do the chiropractic things, right, like people will get better pretty fast, right, and after they will plateau even faster. And so I said, what the heck is happening, right? And to maintain the plateau, I still have to treat them. So to me, it's very simple, right? In life, if you want to resolve a problem, you need to know two things. And what I mean by resolving a problem, Tina, it means like you don't have any more problem. You don't think even about your problem. You moved on, right? And so what are those two things, right? And I live by those two things every single day. Number one, when you need to know what's causing your problem, right? If you don't know what's causing your problem, how can you fix it? And number two, Tina, you need to know how to fix it, right? And so if one of these components is missing, you're not going to be able to get the optimal result, to say the least, and sometimes obviously no result, right? It's for example, with the drug industry, right? For long-term pain and stress, they don't find out what's causing your problem, so they cannot solve it. Period. I'm done. That's how long it will take a discussion with somebody that gives drugs, right? Because you're not finding what's causing the problem, therefore you cannot resolve a problem the way I understand about resolving a problem, right? It's gone. We don't have to take any supplement, no nothing. We're done with it, all right? And so I started to say, man, I want to. So chiropractic is not enough, right? So the physical stress, assessing and addressing the physical stress is not enough. And so lots of people were complaining about joint pain and things like that, which is basically inflammation, right? Which is chemical stress. So I started to inquire about that and get educated about that. I will muscle test people, and the body will tell me which organ are under stress and what's causing the stress, right? Or the fire in their body, which what we call inflammation. So I made a practice out of it, and I had like 4 employees that I taught how to do things, and seeing 250 patients a week. So I left, I live the American dream. I had a big house, all that stuff in the best neighborhood. But Tina, when life of the universe has something much more for you, right? They will make sure, hold on, you're not done here. You're not all that. And so basically what happened, I was so, I was living my mission, right? And so I thought I was doing the right thing. So all the time I will be like thinking about, how can I improve, the things that I do, because I'm very creative, right? So how can I improve that? How can I get better result? And so my mind was always focused on that, right? And so when after, working, I was coming home, and I mean, I have to be honest with myself, I neglected my family, right? And so my marriage, so within a year, that's what happened. That's how life will tell you, hold on, there's more for you here. And so basically within a year, I ended up divorcing, right? And when you divorce with a kid, it's never a handshake, I guarantee you that. And so the second thing, I got depressed, and I was, totally burned out, right? And so my practice went from thriving to failing, right? I ended up being the only one in that big office, beautiful office, but, Anyway, and on top of that, I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer. So here I am telling you, if you're a patient, how to avoid the big killers, the cardiovascular disease, with cancer, and decrease the inflammation in your body. And I'm doing my own program, I'm getting sick. So I say, what the heck happened, right? And so this has been my quest, because I knew deep within me, there was something that was pushing me to sabotage my health, to sabotage my relationship, and sabotage my prosperity.
All right. Wow. So
Yeah.
how did you were in the hole at this point, so how did you dig yourself
Yes.
out of it?
Well, there's a couple of things that really helped me. The first thing is my dad showing me what not to do. because my dad was a very negative and controlling person, right? And so what happened when you're like that, the first victim, it's yourself, right? Of course, your loved one, can, of course, it can affect them. But so he got sick at 40 years old and got in disability in France and never recovered, right? And so why? Because he was identifying himself subconsciously, right? Not that aware, well, people are calling me, right? So everybody will call and say, Jean, how you doing? And blah, blah, blah. But they were asking how his disease was doing, right? So of course, you get the attention, you get the love because you're sick. Why changing, right? And you become caught up on that loop of victimhood, right? And say, why me? Oh, look, I've been everywhere, try everything, and which is, he didn't do that. But anyway, so, and still get stuck like that and look at me, oh, I'm always suffering and things. So I knew I wouldn't be a victim. For sure, he taught me what not to do, right? So I know that I'm a creator, right? So I knew I took my responsibility as a human being, right? That there was something within me that was creating that, right? And also what really helped me, it's like, I knew that, by helping myself and discovering some way to heal myself, I will be able to translate that into my patient. So this was much bigger than me, but my little me, right? That was bigger than, and so that really, I have to say, that really helps too, right? And it helps for you to disassociate, with your disease and be more the observer in a way, right? And so those are really the things that help me. So, me now. I mean, I started to investigate, and so I was pretty good, happy, with not pretty good because we're never. It's a journey, right? It's a never-ending journey, right? About knowledge, about truth, about freedom, right? And so the number one things so physical stress, I created my own energy technique, which is very shamanic. Maybe we'll talk about that. And the chemical stress, I found out that if you supercharge the body with oxygen, it will detoxify. So not doing an alkaline diet, which is super expensive and nobody's going to do that anyway. So I created some mixture just to increase your pH, right? And to kill the infectious agent and cancer, right? So that really helped my healing because I did heal my cancer naturally, right? And so, and the third thing is, okay, everybody's talking about mind-body connection, right? And so I started to learn some technique, and about trap emotion and things like that. And, I will say you've got neck pain, so we can release those trap emotion, can be, whatever, anger, grief, or whatever. But still, I was not there. I knew deep in my soul that there was something more, right? And so I started to inquire about the mind.
Okay.
Should I go on?
No, wait, no, don't go on yet because I have some questions.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's interesting that you mentioned that chiropractic wasn't enough because people were plateauing. So
Yes.
would you say that the chiropractic was actually treating the symptoms and not the root cause?
Again, I live by this principle I told you, so I think it's both. All right, because let me explain it to you. The cause of a problem, well, it can be physical, chemical, and mental, right? And it can be the three of them. It can be two of them, but they all interact, right? So it has to be holistic point of view, right? And
emotional. Don't forget the emotional is roots.
Yeah, mental and emotional. Oh, yeah. But you will see they're all connected. The mental and the emotional and our behavior and our action are all connected. Right? And that's the way they are connected. That's what, make the difference. And so what I did for the physical, I say, okay, so chiropractic treat only 20% of the nervous system, which is the nerves that it's called the peripheral nervous system. So it's the nerve that exists there. I say, why not 100%? So the central nervous system is made of your brain and the spinal cord. So I became a cranial specialist, right? And after, for the energy work, right? So, things come out of nowhere. I call that my insight, right? And I started to use a technique. And I remember the first time I did it, right? Out of the blue, treating somebody. And, there's some patient you're more comfortable with, and so let me try this. and I started to blow, literally blow on her body. And she said, please don't stop. Right? I said, what the heck is happening there? And to be honest with you, at the beginning, I was like, you know, I'm going to explain that, right? Number one. And so I'm a doctor. And after I said, you know, this is not about you. This is about the patient. If I have to be upside down for a while helping the patient, I'll do it. I basically do it, right? And so I started to do and refine that technique and found some point to blow on. And after I remember, one of my girlfriend, right? She gave me a book, and that book was about shamanic. I think I still have here. Shamanic of the world, right? And so, and they were describing people from every, like the Tibetan monk, you know, actually even higher than the monk, blowing on people in Africa and things like that. So, and so I started to understand, this is a shamanic stuff, because I had no clue. I mean, really had no clue. And so I started to become more comfortable with that. And so the way I introduced to my patient, I said, look, you know, I created a breathing technique, you know, that's going to help you, make you more feel more relaxed and have those energy flowing again, right? And so I was pretty pleased with physical, with the chemical there. And so I had to study the mind, right? You have any other question before I go on that?
Yeah, I'm very interested in this blowing technique. So are
I knew you
you,
will. I knew you will. That's why
because
usually I
I'm
never mention it, but you know, I knew you will.
sometimes, this blowing technique comes up, and in Reiki, when you do attunements, like a healing
I see.
attunement on
Yeah.
someone,
Uh-huh.
you'll blow on the chakras from the
Yeah.
solar plexus to
I
the
do that.
crown back
Yeah.
down. Yeah, so that's part of the attunement. So what exactly are you doing with the blowing technique? Are you clearing the energy in that part of the body?
Well, what I know for sure, because your guess is to be honest with you, your guess is as good as mine, right? I mean, so what I know, it's like, because, for example, I will check, you know, how much stress you got on your central nervous system, which is basically the base of your skull, your nervous system, your muscle system, and your organs. So I will have a stress body map customized to you at the beginning, and after I do the blowing and see what's left. And whatever was standard is done to zero. Right, so it's all, for me, it's like the energy is flowing again, right? So if you look at energy, like there's some what we call meridian in the body, right? So imagine like a hose, right? And the water going through the hose is the energy, right? And so if you step on a hose, what's going to happen? Well, the water is going to be blocked. And so that's basically that principle, to unblock, you know, like that the energy can flow, and like that you can be you can heal from whatever block energy was causing your problem, right? And so I guess that's I just to know literally what's happening. I never practice any skills, no breathing work. I don't do any breathing work, you know, like that guy from Norway, whatever it is. I don't do that. You know, it just
I
came
don't
to
do
me.
that.
Yeah, it
I
just came to
tried it.
me.
I honestly didn't like it. Wim Hof, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I was
Wim
like,
Hof. Yeah.
this is weird. So you have to try different techniques that, you know, if there's a lot of techniques out there. But so
Yeah.
what's the feedback are you getting from your clients on the breathing technique? What's happening?
Well, they feel very relaxed. It's like they're melting. That's the best way I can describe. And yes, and the I show them that, because sometimes you focus on the pain, but you can have, like, the pain is triggered by the way at more than 80% of stress, right? That boom, your alarm system goes off and you got pain. But if you are 70%, right? And so you still have tension, so the tension also disappear, right? And so that's why I do the before and after, if you want, right? Like you take a picture, but they will have a picture and an awareness of where tenor spots are. And and so they just love it, and yeah.
And
So
then
it's
you
a part of my
mentioned,
program.
yeah, briefly that you were able to heal your cancer naturally. Can you give us more details on that?
Well, so I had like two people helping me, also because sometimes you need help. I mean, that's true.
Yes.
And so I had like a dear friend of mine that she's an acupuncturist, but more than that, Chinese medicine. She created her own stuff, mixing auriculotherapy and body work. And I had like another healer, and just helping me. And I took some Isiakti, I did something, and I work on the emotion, like you say, mental
Mm-hmm.
and emotional, because that's why. I mean, the main reason. I mean, one of the reasons, should I say, that I definitely learned with technique, right? And to be honest, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I was not concerned about that. I was not. Even my wife remember that French woman that I married first. She said, "But you have nothing. Look at you." And I said, "Yeah, why should I worry about it?" I knew. How can I say that without seeming like crazy? But I knew that this will be something that will make me a better person. Right? That was the goal, really. Not only a better person, but also to be able to help better my patient and my clients.
Yeah, I think it's not crazy. It's that you're intuitive.
Yeah,
And so you're in touch with your intuition, and
a
then
lot.
that doesn't really have anything to do with logic.
Yeah. And that's why I say, actually, that's so true because I always tell people if I make a choice and my analytical mind say you do this and my intuition do the opposite, I will always follow my intuition. I mean, it's not even a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do that too. And if I'm working on someone, and within my office, I have all of these items, like I have
Uh-huh.
crystals and I have bowls. And as I'm working with someone, those things will maybe even pop in my mind because it visually, because I usually have my eyes closed because I'm focusing on what I'm doing. And then
Sure.
I'll go and reach for those things and use them in the session.
That's
So,
why we call what we do the healing arts. It's an art. We are
yes.
artists. I see myself as an artist. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
martial artist too, but I'm a healing artist.
Yeah, and we get trained, but we change it
Yeah.
to what we feel is right based on our intuition. And so we
And I
need a
will
lot of flexibility.
Yes, and I will definitely advise if I have to give an advice to your audience, right, will be that you need to trust your intuition. So sometimes it's hard to understand because we have been so conditioned to to go to the analytical and with our head, and the intuition is more about your heart, right? Your heart speaking to you, and so I
Yes.
will definitely advise your audience just to trust it. And if you don't trust it at first, that's fine. Ask for some confirmation, right? And say, yeah, whoever you want to connect with, like a God or awareness or whatever is your belief about that, just connect and say, yeah, give me some confirmation. And this is a very important way to function in life in my book.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about limiting beliefs. Can you define
Yes.
what that is and what is the three-step process
Well,
to
if
realizing your limiting beliefs?
if you allow me, it's hard to understand limiting belief without understand truly how the mind works. So if you allow me, I'm going to do that first. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the mind? That's a very simple question, right? And so, but
Actually, it's not. It's
yeah,
not a simple
but
question.
it seems to be right. But not lots of people. Most people have no idea. It's like stress. We talk about stress. Most people have no idea, and the mind, most people have no idea. So I started to look. I started to do Google, go on YouTube, do all that stuff, right? And read books about it. And so what I discover is mind blowing. It's mind blowing the way because it's basically who I am. That's the question, right? Who am I? Should I say, if I use correct grammar, right? And so that's how deep that question is. And so what I realize is few things. The first thing is like it's kind of like we live in a two separate world at the same time. So Tina, what do I mean by this? It's like we've got the outer world, right? And the outer world, it's like what we call our conscious mind. So it's basically your self identity, your personality, all what you're aware of, right? So your thought, your emotion, your behavior, your action, what you think you can do, what you think you cannot do, and how you perceive your reality, right? How you perceive the outer world, right? So basically, conscious mind, self-identity. And after there's another world, should I say, and another mind. And it's very secretive, very mysterious, right? And it's hidden. And we call that the subconscious. So what is the subconscious mind for, right? The subconscious mind, Tina, record everything you have been doing in your life from, I would say, even conception to now, right? All your skill as a healer, as maybe a mom, as a podcaster, are stored in your subconscious mind. All the automatic process in your body, like breathing, like heartbeat, like digestion, they are stored in your subconscious mind, right? And so I say, wow, what's that? What this is about, right? And so there's few data that I want to give, your audience, just to realize how powerful the subconscious mind. So first one, our conscious mind, so who you think you are, what you are aware of, process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind processes data at 11 million bits per second. So what does it mean? It means right now, what I'm perceiving as my self-identity, right? The subconscious mind perceives 11 million times more. 11 million times more minus 11, right? To be exact. You see what I mean? That's crazy. And after the second things, so the second things I'm going to tell you, it should rethink about who you are, totally who you are, right? So here's the thing. So I always tell, if you're standing up, please sit down. If you sit down, you're in your car, buckle up, because what I'm going to tell you is going to blow your mind. Number one, your conscious mind, depends who you're reading, right? It's only 5 or 10% of your mind. Therefore, the subconscious mind, that is, you have no clue what's going on there, is 90 to 95% of your mind. And yet, when we focus on healing, transformation, and growth, we focus on what? Our conscious mind. Meaning that we use only 5 or 10% of our mind power. So I thought, you know what? Why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party, right? Imagine you use 100% of your power that you were born with. That's your birthright. People talk about superpower. There's no superpower. You already have them. It's already there. The problem we don't have access to it, right? So the question comes, what's preventing us to have access to it? And the answer is we all have been programmed. You have been programmed. I've been programmed. Everybody listening has been programmed. You cannot escape it. So now, how does it work? Well, especially around age 0 to 7, we are like sponges, right? We've got even different brainwave, alpha, theta, which is hypnotic stage. So what we see in the outside world, we think it's the truth, right? Even though it's not good for us, but it's the truth, right? And so we assume things, and you assume the same thing again, and this becomes a program. And that program is stored in your subconscious mind, right? So, Tina, you've got two kind of program, right? Sorry. You've got programs that are serving you, right? It's kind of when your mind is working for you. You have a day and you say, man, I'm kicking it. I'm being very productive. I interact with people. Everybody seems to love me, like the universe is with me, right? And so that's called empowering belief. Again, it's when your mind is working for you, not against you, right? I'm sorry. And after you've got the other program, right? When your mind is not, when your program are not serving you any longer, right? They had a place, that's why you had that program, but they're not serving you any longer. So it's kind of like your mind is working against you instead for you, right? And we all that day, who's there that will say, man, I wish I would have stayed asleep, because nothing is working and not a good day, right? And so those are called limiting beliefs, right? Limiting belief. So if I go along, because we compare, program, right? We're talking about program. Let's compare the mind to a computer, right? So here it is. Your brain will be your hard drive. It's the physical part. You know, your thought, your emotion, they're not in your brain. Can they change your brain and the wiring of your brain? What we call neuroplasticity? For sure. But they are not in your brain. And that's a big mistake that people make most of the time. So that's your hard drive. And after you've got the software, right? The software, that's all your programming, right? So it's your subconscious mind, right? The subconscious mind is your software. And Tina, the output of your software is your conscious mind. And after your behavior is reflected on the screen of life. So you ask me, how are you doing, Alain? I say, if I've got lots of like a good quality programming, right, in my subconscious mind, right, lots of empowering belief, if you want, I say, man, Tina, never better. You know, I'm having fun having podcasts, you know, and I want to, you know, help people to heal themselves. And what is better than that? And I'm remarried, you know, I've got a wonderful 8 years old, you know, and my business is totally different. I help people like I would have never even dreamed of, right? Okay, now, if you ask the Alain with lots of limiting belief, like lots of negative programming, and say, Alain, how are you doing? I say, oh man, you know, nobody loves me. Life is so difficult, you know. And always I start something, but there's always outside circumstances preventing me to reach. And so why me? Why is always happening to me, right? And that's what happens when you've got lots of limiting belief.
So it's basically the energy of victimhood.
Yeah, at its worst.
Hmm.
At its worst.
So what's the three-step process to, is that the
Yeah.
three-step process of
No,
realizing
that's
your
not.
ability?
That's not. So
Okay.
let me give an example because I want people to understand how impactful was limiting belief, how they control us. You see, because we think we make choice because blah blah blah, but there's a program behind it. Yeah. Especially when there are choices that are self-sabotaging, right? They are not good for us, right? And so let me give you an example. Let's pretend there's a little girl, and that little girl see a dad that is an alcoholic, I'm sorry, drunk every night, coming back home, beat up on his wife, on her mom. What do you think that little girl is going to attract down the road as a romantic relationship?
Someone like our dad.
That's it. So an abusive relationship, right? So let me make two comments. So I think 80% of the people will be with us, right? And say, yeah, that's what's going to happen, more likely. And so if I ask that woman now, right? If I ask her, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? What's she going to say? She's going to say, heck no. So meaning the conscious mind is going to say no, but the subconscious mind has been programmed as men are predators and women are prey. So who's winning here, right? That's how our program can impact us, right? That's number one. Now, another comment I want to make, how she's going to find that guy, how she's going to attract that guy. She's going to say, hey, you look like a predator. Hey, you know, can you come and beat me up? Right? Obviously, it's not going to happen that way. So my conclusion is that it's kind of like our subconscious mind are connected to each other. Right? That's why we say we are all one, right? Doesn't mean that you have to love everybody. That's not what it means, but we are connected. So here's how he's going to work with that future couple, right? So the subconscious mind of that little girl is going to say, hey, look, he's got the predator program. He has been bullied and now he's a bully. That's a good match for you, right? Maybe you should fall in love. Just fall in love with him. And the subconscious mind of that man, she said, look, you know, she saw man bullied and she's got the prey program that would be a match for me. And she needs somebody like me. So let's pair up. And guess what? They're going to fall in love. The polarity is going to attract them. And they're going to start that tango, that dance. You know, it takes two to tango, right? Like you say in America, right? And so they're just going to fall in love. And so there's three different case scenarios that can happen. Scenario number one, she married the guy, gets stuck for the rest of her life. And we all know people like this, or I've heard about such a relationship. Why she's still with him? It's crazy. That's why, because of that programming. Number two, she may get involved with a guy and get tired of, get beat up, get another guy, you know, that will be similar, maybe less, and maybe have kids along the way, but look at all the suffering, right? And there's two kind of women, after some women that will say to me, hey, Dr. Salas, I don't want any more man in my life. I'm done. They're not good for me, right? It's kind of like you've got a fire. You put your finger once, you get burned. You put your finger twice, you get burned. You say, hold on, I'm not going to put my finger anywhere, right? And so, but also you can heal through your life experiences, right? And so the healing will be, she's going to attract somebody that is totally different. Somebody that is kind to her, right? That saw her as an equal, right? Somebody that, nurture her, right? And that's how, and you remember the screen of life? That's what she will see on the screen of life. And that's how she knows that she's healed. And finally, the case scenario number 3, well, what's going to happen? It's like she can come to see me or see different people, right? That can reprogram the subconscious mind. Meaning that number one, it's kind of like a program that you got in your computer, it's not serving you anymore, or you don't like the outcome. So what are you going to do? Number one, you're going to delete, right? You're going to download a new one. And after, you want to make sure that the outcome shows up on your screen, right? You're going to click on things and use that program. So the 3 steps are what? You dealing your limiting belief. Basically, you delete what you don't want. Number 2, you download instead to your subconscious mind empowering belief, what you want. So you don't have to identify what your limiting beliefs are, because good luck identifying your limiting belief using only 5 or 10% of your mind power to crack the code of 90% or 95% of your mind power. The odds are not really, they are pretty much against you, right? So you don't need, that's a big misunderstanding. You don't need to identify them. It's just replace for what you want. And number 3, which is so important, because we need to experience life physically, right? You want to make sure that you create, you manifest on your screen of life what you want. So delete, download, create. Does it make sense?
Yes. Any more you want to say about that?
Oh, yeah. There's few things that are really important, and to like, for example, so there's 2 things, if you allow me. The first thing is like where those limiting beliefs are coming from, right? So they are from our past, our past trauma, unresolved issue or challenging that you have, right? So that's where they are coming from. So it's basically our past, and that's very important, guys. Listen to that. That's super important. Our past defining our present and molding our future. So if you change your past by getting rid of those limiting beliefs that are controlling you, you can change your present and you will attract something totally different in your future. All right. So it's kind of like, imagine a triangle here, Tina. So there's a triangle, and inside you got limiting beliefs. So on top, you're going to have negative thought, obviously, that's not positive. Negative thought is going to lead to overwhelming emotion. On the right base of your triangle, on the left base of your triangle, you're going to have non-desirable behavior and therefore unproductive action. Let me give you an example. If my dad told me my limiting belief is I'm a loser, so I'm going to think I'm a loser, I'm going to feel like a loser, I'm going to behave like a loser, of course I'm going to have loser result. I've got loser result, I'm going to feel even more like I'm a loser. I'm going to think, man, I knew I was a loser, but that kind of loser. And so that's what I call the subconscious stress loop. And we've got a ton of loop, running behind the scene and dictating our thought, our emotion, and our behavior and our action. So this is very important to see this alignment, right? Because when we create, instead we replace the limiting belief by empowering one, your thought is going to be positive, you're going to have supportive emotion, and you're going to have desirable behavior, therefore productive action. So the goal is to be aligned. Focusing only on the emotion is a part of a problem, right? That when your thought, your emotion, and your behavior and action are aligned, you're unstoppable. And that start with reprogramming. That start with reprogramming the limiting belief into empowering one, and that's how you align. Because if I say I'm going to start a diet, I'm thinking I'm going to start a diet, and after I've got a feeling coming and saying, "Oh man, last time you started a diet, you lose weight, but after you gain more." So you think, I may take some action, but it's not going to last. Why? Because we're not in alignment, right? And we can do the same with behavior. And if I don't take action, for example, okay, that's a fantasy in my mind, right? So, so all these need to be aligned. And when they are aligned, that's the key of healing, transformation, and growth. And there's one more thing I want to say, Tina. I'm sorry. There's one more thing.
Keep
But
going, Alain.
this is so important. I have to say that. It's so important. And so let's zoom out, right? Let's see the big picture here. So I want everybody to visualize a sun, right? And the sun is God, is awareness, it's like pure love, whatever you think that it's all there is and has ever been, right? And the spark of the sun creates your spirit. And this is all the non-duality that I'm talking about, pure love, and awareness, and all has been. And okay. And after you got the sky, right? And after you've got you and me, the physical you and me, right? And so some people, they've got the sky full of cloud, and they say, the sun doesn't exist, never felt it, never see it, right? So what are those clouds made of? Those are your limiting beliefs, really. So when we start to get rid of limiting belief, right, we can have a glimpse at the sun, right? We can feel the warmth of the sun, right? And you get rid of more and more and more and more limiting belief. Now you're getting better connected to your spirit. And you finally realize that you are not what you have been told. You are not only your self-identity. You are not only body parts put together, right? You're so much more. You're a spirit living a physical experience. And when you understand that, when you realize, when you experience it, everything changes in your life. Every single thing. You cannot see things the same. And that's really the goal for me.
Yeah, I think the key is to understand how the universe works. So, whatever you say or feel, the universe says yes to that. So, it's important as to know how we speak to ourselves, what do we believe, and what we were told, and to question all of those things. Don't just assume that was the truth. Start asking a lot of questions.
Because more likely it's not.
Right.
Let's be honest. More likely it's not.
Also, you will find proof for everything. So whether it was a negative belief, you'll find proof for that. For a positive belief, you'll find proof for that. So it really comes from us and our viewpoint and how we want to live our life and how we believe, if we believe we are creative and powerful.
It's a quest, right? It's a journey and I think that's really why we're on Earth for. There's no doubt for me. I mean, it's basically this, that's that journey, that to reconnect with your spirit. It's everything, and manifest that physically, right? Because that's how you get the experience, right? It's like we can talk about that forever. Trust me, I've got much more, but we can talk about that forever. But bottom line, you have to experience it. It's like your work, you can talk about it forever if you don't experience it. So true knowledge is about experiencing this, right? Experiencing things. And like that, you will know because you will have experienced it. I know it sounds so simple, but it's so true.
Yeah, and not only experience, but we always need to expand. We're always expanding, which is proof that we are part of the creator, because the creation is always creating and expanding.
That's why they're always more. Right?
And that's okay. That's okay, because that's how we learn and that's how we evolve, because we're always changing. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah. And I will add also, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. One more last comment before you share your
Um,
information.
yeah, so I will add also, this is when you think that you're done, that you know it all, not even know it all, but you say, oh yeah, I've got that. There's always more.
Hmm.
Personally, I define myself as a truth, freedom, and knowledge seeker, right? And when you're a seeker, you cannot stop. You cannot be a seeker one day and stop. You just cannot. Either you are or you're not, right? And so that's very important, just to realize and stay also obviously humble, right? Because you just no, you will never know it all. You will never know the perfect truth. You will never have the perfect knowledge. You will have never had the complete understanding how this is work. uh, you know but you just go one step by the step, and see how your life improve, how you are less reactive, to things, how you've got more peace of mind, your heart start to open, and your will is like, flowing with life. And that's how you realize that, life's pretty cool, even though you've got adversity, because this will never stop, but it's how you deal with them. It's just you become like so much more distant to them, and so it's so much easier to deal with that, and you don't have your head running like crazy, right? You can have that peace of mind.
Absolutely. So, Elaine, how can people find you online if they'd like to contact you? And do you have any new and upcoming projects you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so the first thing, you go to the website, right? So themindclearing.com, and there's lots of information there, right? Because doctor means teacher, right, in Latin. So it's very important for me to always teach. And if you want to contact me, if you want to try it, you say, well, I'm just my intuition. So yeah, let's try it, right? And so you go to themindclearing.com, you click on contact, there's a form that show up, or you've got my email, and you can get a treatment with me that will be online, because you are doing. I'm giving you the technology, to heal yourself, to empower yourself, to connect to your subconscious mind, right? And so I'm just guiding you, right? So you will get 20% off. It's an hour, treatment. And after, if you want to learn it, right? So I've got the mind clearing technique, the body clearing, which is about getting rid of pain, symptom, inflammation in your body by reprogramming your subconscious mind, right? And also the goal and success clearing. When you want to reach something, why not, when you're setting goals, bring the subconscious mind to the party, right? It's going to be much more efficient. Anyway, so those, if you want to get those free program, I will give you 50% off, 50% off on that if you mention Tina's podcast.
Awesome. So, also, you have a book, and what's the title of the book, and what is
So
it about?
the book was, 10 years ago, because my step was, okay, let's study the brain first, right? Let's study. So I wrote a book, is called The Brain Power Secret, that refer mainly that what to do to make sure your second brain, which is your gut, that function very well, right? And some of the things, some of the concept in it, right? But my future book is going to come hopefully soon. And that's really the one that I'm so excited. I'm writing it right now, and I'm so excited to have it done, right? Because it has to be done. It's really good.
Oh,
So
do you
yes,
have a title? What is it about?
not yet,
Not
not yet.
yet.
Oh,
Okay, in the
that's
works.
gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be about the mind, right? The mind clearing, basically, and the power of the subconscious mind. How can you unleash that, right?
Well, thank you, Elaine, for coming on
My
the
pleasure,
show.
Tina. My
Yeah,
pleasure.
and this is really important for all of us. All of us need to work on clearing our minds. There's no exception out there. And I think it's a wonderful technique, and it's something that we could all use and work on. So thank you very much for being on the show.
I appreciate you, Tina. Thank you so much.